Hello and welcome to SEGA News Bits. I'm Barry, with me is George.
Hello everyone.
And we have some sad news to report. Well, it's more of a rumor, but it's seeming more and more true as the days go on. Archie Comics is apparently canceling the Sonic the Hedgehog comic series. And how did we get to this rumor? Well, a lot of strange things happen at once. Basically, the main thing is that they pulled all the Sonic comics from their subscriptions page. And if you can't subscribe a comic, what are they planning on doing? Some people have said that maybe it's going to be a comic shop exclusive. That makes absolutely no sense to me. I mean, you have subscriptions for every single other Archie comic, but you pull the Sonic ones. There's something up. And so a lot of fans on message boards started calling the Archie subscription line and talked to some staff. And here's something that Sonic Stadium forum member Dr. Ben MD, I don't think he's an actual doctor. I think that's his username.
He might be. That's an insult.
This 40-year-old doctor, and he's like, I really need my Sonic comics. He said, I just spoke with Lisa at subscriptions at Archie. I told her I was considering subscribing to Sonic and Sonic Universe, but that I cannot seem to subscribe to them on their site. She said that right now, until they have more information, they are not taking any more subscriptions. I then asked if this meant the possibility of those titles getting canceled, and she said yes. I believe what would be the final issue to then hit stores would be, and she said, I believe $2.90. I forgot to ask about Sonic Universe and the final Mega Drive issue Overdrive, and forgot to ask about the resolving stories and whatnot. He basically says, he forgot to ask a bunch of questions. But to be honest, I don't think subscriptions would be like, well, actually, now that you mentioned that, Bunny, Rabbit, and Antoine, their relationship gets a little rocky in issue number 295. No. But
you gotta feel bad for these people. They have to take these angry calls from Sonic fans.
I know. Another red flag was the fact that they had a super deep discount on back issues, 75% off sale. Now, sales aren't anything new to the Archie store. I've bought things on there for 50% off, 60% off. But when you're doing just a flat out sale, no coupon code or anything, just all the Sonic stuff's 75% off, that really feels like they're clearing things out. And I've bought things from there in the past. Their store has greatly diminished the amount of stuff you can get.
It sounds like they're clearing out the house of all the stuff they have.
Yeah, and now if I can talk about some positives, despite the fact that this doctor, this 40-year-old man who is obsessed with Sonic, and he's a doctor, he was calling and they said $2.90 would probably be the final issue. That's not true. So, solicits have been going out since then. Issue 294 is actually confirmed to be coming out. It's actually pretty cool looking. It's going to be a Sega Sonic Arcade adaptation. So these aren't done. However, the fact that the subscriptions are missing tells me that the Sonic comics, or at least the main series, is going to be ending in less than 12 issues. And this is my take on the whole situation. Issue 300, it's a big milestone issue. That issue is, if I do math, about six or seven issues away from, I believe, where we are right now. So that's less than 12. My personal opinion is that they've reached some sort of agreement where the license is expiring with Archie and Sega is not renewing it, and that they will be concluding it at a milestone like 300, and that's why you can't order 12 issues into the future, because they'd have to issue refunds, or they'd have to start giving you issues of Archie, and who really wants that? So that's my take on the whole thing. As for Overdrive, the third Mega Drive comic, I'm certain that's going to be hitting stores. I'm certain that Sonic Universe is going to wrap up its arcs. It might hit issue 100. I'm not sure. I mean, this is my assumption, but 100 and 300 and concluding the Mega Drive arc would be a very nice numbers to end on. And as for, I'm talking a lot, but this is just how I read all of this. As for why they're doing this, why do you think they're doing this, George? Why are they dropping Archie?
They don't want to renew the license.
And why do you think that is?
Because they want to move to North. I mean, I feel like they're they even said the interview with the creator or the owner, the new owner of Archie. He said that they really want to focus in their in-house brands. So I'm assuming that when any third party comes up, the license, they're just going to drop it. Like Mega Man, I'm pretty sure they're going to drop it. I think they want to focus on their Archie stuff in-house that they own 100% of the rights to.
I mean, back in the 90s, there was, and even before that, there was the Archie Adventure series, and that's what the Sonic comics were. That's what, I believe it morphed into Archie Action, but that was Mega Man, there was a Ninja Turtles comic, so they were really licensing a lot of things. And the reason for that, I think, is that the Archie brand was kind of getting stale. It's a very 1930s, 40s kind of comic that, I mean, it made the transition into the modern day, but still it was kind of wholesome, and, you know, it was like Casper and Wendy kind of levels of comic books, nothing deep. Since the reboot, however, the Archie comics have been very adult-friendly, very teen-friendly, and there's Riverdale coming out, and so I think they're really trying to bolster their in-house brands, like you mentioned, George. And I think, I mean, as evidenced, Sonic is the only surviving licensed comic they have. And when you look around, there are other comic studios doing a much better job. There's Boom Studios, there's IDW. These are companies that not only have a lot of licensed comics, but they really care. Like, I've read the Ghostbusters and the Back to the Future comics from IDW. They're fantastic. I mean, they're really, really good.
Yeah, and I read their Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff, and I really like how they could, at least in the TMNT one, they like draw out these arcs and they character build, and everything feels organic. Like, oh, this is what they would do in the old comic or another version of them. So they do a good job, and I feel like, there's companies that could do a better job than Archie for sure.
Yeah, and I think just looking at Archie's past with the series, there has been some very big mistakes they've made legally. They've drawn up, or they didn't draw up, contracts with a lot of creatives, which led to lawsuits. I mean, Ken Penders, he was basically the reason for the reboot that they did at issue 252, which dropped all of his characters. Ken Penders came in, I believe he was the second main writer on the book. Maybe I'm wrong. But he created a lot of characters, like Knuckles' like 10,000 member family, things like that. So he caused a lot of legal troubles, not only for Archie, but for Sega. And when Archie has the license for Sonic, and they're making these mistakes, I mean, what happens when you have your driver's license and you start breaking the law? They take your license away. And so I think Sega hit that point where both the Sonic brand is worth a lot more to them now than it was a few years ago, thanks to the likes of Sonic Mania, the work of Aaron Weber and their new branding team. I mean, it's well known to fans, I guess super fans, not everyone would know this, that there are multiple brand guideline Bible books going about to licenses. So it's no longer one Sonic thing. It's Modern Sonic, Classic Sonic, Pixel Sonic, Sonic Boom Sonic, Comic Sonic. If people are afraid that the Archie comic is ending, which is the rumor, don't be afraid that this is the end of Sonic in comic books. I think there's a long history, and I think it's something that Sega wants to continue. I think they want to continue it with a better publisher, and I don't think Archie is the right publisher for it anymore. They've moved on with their Archie brand, and they've also messed up too much with Sonic.
And I think I just think it's perfect for both companies, because at the same time, they're focusing a lot more on their in-house brand, and they're reinventing themselves as a company and the comics they put out. So yeah, I think this is a perfect time for them both to part ways. I don't think there's a negative in them parting, especially if a bigger publisher that people like picks it up with more licenses. Like IDW has a ton of licenses under their belt, and they could do massive crossovers, and they're well-written, adventures.
Yeah, I think any of those major studios that do licensed comics could do a great job, because they do better contracts. They can do crossovers, as you've mentioned. I mean, we could have Sonic meets the Ninja Turtles. It's totally possible.
Sonic meets Transformers.
Sonic goes back to the future with Silver. But as far as the creatives on the team, I think that they're all freelance outside of the editor of the comics, Ian Flynn. He does freelance, I believe. I mean, if he is on staff, he can do freelance work. He can move around. Tracy Yardley, boxer hockey, Tyson Heese Yes, he's...
And if this does happen and they go to another publisher, I think they'd be stupid not to give them the job of continuing the stories.
Oh, no, exactly. And it should be noted, too, that Ian Flynn, who's the main writer on the Sonic book, he does work on the 2012 animated Ninja Turtles comics that IDW do. So he's been an employee with them. And it also makes me wonder if there's a possibility that he might get a promotion to editor. I mean, if he plays his cards right. Imagine, this guy's been working on the thing for how many hundreds of issues? He's written all these stories. I mean, maybe it might mean he takes a backseat to writing, but to put him in a higher creative level, I mean, maybe the guy just likes writing.
So, I don't know. I mean, how do you want to close this up?
Well, I mean, I opened it, then I thought I was going to be negative, but every time I talk about this with people, the possibility of them leaving Archie, I get excited. Like, I actually want the best for the Sonic comic, and I don't think Archie's the best. In the comments below, what is your take on this possible situation of Archie canceling? Do you think this would be the end of the Sonic comics? Do you like my opinion, where I think it's actually going to get better from here? Sound off.
I think this gives us a good time, to rebuild Knuckles' family. At 10,000, bring it back with 20,000.